ఆయన ఎక్కడ వేరు మీరు ఎక్కడ వేరు ఏమి పని ఏమో ఏమి పిలవాలా ఏమో నేను చూడలేదు సార్. మీరు ఎన్ని గంటలకు పిలవమంటే అన్ని గంటలకు పిలుస్తా. భారతి
ప్లీజ్ అన్మ్యూట్.
లేదు సార్. అమ్మా
Dear doctors, good morning. I, Dr. Tanuja Rana, Manager Scientific Services, welcome all of you in this national webinar on Shalya Tantra, organized by the PG Department of Shalya Tantra, National Institute of Ayurveda, Jaipur, and the Himalaya Drug Company, Bangalore. Thank you all for being here this morning. As per the tradition of starting any event, we would like to offer prayers to Lord Dhanvantri. And for that, I would like to call upon Dr. Himadri Mudgal for Dhanvantri Vandana.
Thank you, ma'am. Namami dhanvantarimadhidevam suraivam nitpadpadmam loke jararo bhayatyunasham tatarmisham vividashadhina जैव्योम वातावनिवारि वहनिं पंच प्रपंचात्मकं देहभाजं संताप जरा जरांतकं नमामि धन्वन्तरिमादिदेवं नवीरनीलम् उदकान्तिकान्तं शान्तं हरे द्वादशमाख्यमूर्तिं पूर्तिं शतानां सुमनोरथानां नमामि धन्वन्तरिमादिदेवं नमामि धन्वन्तरिमादिदेवं सुरैवन्दितपादपद्मं लोके जरारोग्यमृत्युनाशं धातारमीशं विविधाशधीः. Thank you.
Thank you, Doctor, for the blessing of Lord Dhanvantri. Now to present opening note, I would like to call upon Dr. Ashok Kumar, Associate Professor of Post-PG Department of Shalya Tantra, NIA, Jaipur. I request Sir to give the welcome speech.
धन्यवाद डॉक्टर तनुजा राणा जी, परम आदरणीय गुरुवर प्रोफेसर मनोरंजन साहू सर, हमारे विभाग के विभागाध्यक्ष प्रोफेसर पी हेमंता सर और अन्य सभी गणमान्य विद्वान जो इस वेबिनार में उपस्थित हैं, आप सभी का राष्ट्रीय आयुर्वेद संस्थान जयपुर और शल्य तंत्र विभाग राष्ट्रीय आयुर्वेद संस्थान की तरफ से आप सभी का स्वागत है। जैसा कि आप सभी जानते हैं कि यह वेबिनार पीजी डिपार्टमेंट शल्य तंत्र विभाग जयपुर और हिमालय ड्रग कंपनी के संयुक्त प्रयासों से किया जा रहा है। यह वेबिनार आज 24 सितंबर से और 26 सितंबर तक 3 दिन तक चलेगा। इस वेबिनार में मुख्य वक्ता आदरणीय गुरुवर प्रोफेसर मनोरंजन साहू सर, हमारे विभागाध्यक्ष आदरणीय प्रोफेसर पी हेमंत कुमार सर, प्रोफेसर सुमन शर्मा जी एवं डॉक्टर तनुजा राणा रहेंगे। इस वेबिनार में मुख्य विषय जिस पर विषय विशेषज्ञों द्वारा चर्चा की जाएगी वो एनल स्ट्रक्चर, अर्श एवं हेमराइड्स, सवर्ण भग्न एवं ओपन फ्रैक्चर विषय रहेंगे। आशा है कि शल्य तंत्र विभाग और हिमालय ड्रग कंपनी द्वारा जिस उद्देश्य से इस वेबिनार का आयोजन किया जा रहा है उसमें हम सफल रहेंगे और विषय संबंधित विशेषज्ञता से आप सभी को अवगत करा पाएंगे। धन्यवाद।
Thank you so much, sir, for the opening remark. Due to some technical problems, actually, sir was not, Dr. Sanjeev Kumar Sharma, sir, was not here. He's a director of NIA. He was very busy in his meeting with the Ministry of Ayush, and he has sent the blessing to us. So now I would like to request Professor P. Hemanta, sir, Dean of PG Studies, Head of the PG Department of Shalya Tantra, NIA Jaipur, to deliver the inaugural speech. So please.
Om Sri Dhanvantaraya Namaha. Om Sri Manjunataya Namaha. Respected Sri Sripad Yasho Nayak Ji, Honorable Union Minister of State, Independent Charge, Ministry of Ayush, Government of India, Padma Shri Vaidya Rajesh Kotecha Ji, Honorable Secretary, Ministry of Ayush, Government of India, Honorable our Dynamic Director, Professor Sanjeev Sharma Ji, respected my Guruji, Professor Manoranjan Sahu Ji, former Dean, Faculty of Ayurveda, IMS, BHU, Varanasi, all the deans, teaching faculty members, and Dr. Tanuja Rana from Himalaya Drug Company, my dear delegates, colleagues, doctors, Ayurvedic surgeons, and students of Ayurveda fraternity. Very good morning and welcome to all for this webinar. The PG Department of Shalya Tantra, NIA Jaipur, and the Himalaya Drug Company are jointly organizing a national webinar on Shalya Tantra from 24th to 26th of this month. And eminent speakers like Manoranjan Sahuji, Dr. Suman Sharma and myself are going to share the knowledge in this webinar to enrich the Shalya Tantra. See, our institute, it is one of the model institute as an apex institute of the Ministry of Ayush for promoting the growth and development of Ayurveda as a model institute for high standards of teaching, training, research, and also to invoke outlook to the knowledge of Ayurvedic system of medicine. The institute, an autonomous body under Department of Ayush, Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, Government of India. The National Institute of Ayurveda is accredited by NABH and NABL with 14 departments conducting undergraduate course, postgraduate course, PhD courses, nursing courses, and other certificate courses with well-veeked departments around 300 bedded hospital with satellite centers in this pink city. See, PG Department of Shalya Tantra is one of the foremost department in NIA is dealing with the surgical and parasurgical aspects of the system through importing teaching and various research activities. And we have the various facilities like OPD, in OPD anorectal unit, general surgery unit, Astisandhi, Roga Agat and Marma Chikitsa unit, and we have an inpatient department with well-equipped major operation theatre, and we are performing almost all the general surgeries, plastic surgeries, orthopedic surgeries, proctology, urology, and other minor surgical procedures. And we have a separate parasurgical unit and endoscopic unit, and we have a facility of CCTV facility for teaching and training for the students' interaction during surgery. And these are the facilities available in our department, and we are conducting so many live demonstration programs and various national workshops and conferences in this platform. And because of lockdown, we are conducting a national webinar through virtual mode. And once again, I welcome to all for this webinar for great success. And I am very thankful to Dr. the Himalaya Drug Company for supporting for this program. Once again, I thankful to Honorable Director, sir, giving opportunity to conduct these type of programs in our institution. Once again, thank you.
Thank you, sir, for providing this knowledge on these things. And now we are pleased to welcome respected Professor Manoranjan Sahu, sir. He was former Dean Faculty of Ayurveda IMS Banaras Hindu University, Banarasi. He graduated from J.B. Roy's Ayurveda College, Calcutta, and did his postgraduate and PhD from Banaras Hindu University in the year 1982 and 1986. He has served as a founder director of All India Institute of Ayurveda and a Dean Faculty of Ayurveda. He has teaching experience of 34 years with 32 research papers in his name. He also contributed 3 chapters in different textbooks and obtained 2 patents in his name. He is also the life member of several nation and international academy, and he has delivered keynote addresses and guest lectures in many national and international conferences, seminars, and symposia. Sir have also awarded by the Department of Ayush Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, Government of India for contribution to develop Ayurveda in the year 2008. He has also been awarded by the Sundar Lal Joshi Memorial Award in the year 2014. Sir has also received Sri Haribhau Ranjipe Award for Excellence in Shalya Shalakya in the year 2016 by the International Association for the Study of Traditional Asian Medicine. So today, Sir will be sharing his expert opinion on the management of anal stricture. So I would like to call Sir to give us immense knowledge on this particular subject. Sir, please. Sahu sir, please share your screen. आपकी screen share नहीं हो रही है. It is
Am I
not-
audible?
Yes sir, you are audible. Yes sir.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. There is a technical problem to sharing the screen. Let me do it once again.
Sir, just a second. Due to some technical issue, it does not
I'm
have
doing it now.
we are just trying to. We are
It
just
is
trying
now
to.
possible. Okay, it is now ready probably. Is it now ready?
Sir, it is not visible. Sir,
Can you
your,
see the
your
slide?
voice. No, sir. No, sir. We can't see your slide.
Just wait for a second.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Your slide is visible.
Slides are visible now.
Yes, sir. Sir, your slide is visible. Sir, please make it this slide in full screen, sir.
Okay, I will make it a full screen. So once again, very good morning to all of you. It is really nice to see all of you once again, and I thank you the organizers in the Shalya Tantra Department of National Institute of Ayurveda, especially the entire team of Shalya Tantra, those who have organized this excellent program today in association with Himalaya Drug Company, a drug company who is dedicated to serve Ayurveda since maybe quite a long period of time. Exactly, I do not remember, but thank you for involving and sharing in academic scenario of in Ayurveda. Today, I am going to talk a very interesting area, but at the same time, quite challenging, rather, I will say, in surgical field, which really a very troublesome problem. And unfortunately, in majority of the cases, it is we the surgeon, we produce this disease. Therefore, we have an enormous role to play not to create such a problem, and in case if it happens, what we can do in these situations. So today, as I already displayed that today I'm going to talk on anal stricture. See, this anal stricture or anal stenosis, both are synonymous to each other. It is simply a literary meaning we call the narrowing of the anal canal, which makes difficult to pass stool. That is, but we are talking, today we will be talking more about a condition, the narrowing of this anal canal, which is more, which is non-expandable. What I mean to say non-expandable means that it is a structural damage of the anal canal rather than functional damage. So in this situation, normally the anal canal is a supple elastic structure, and though normally it remains closed because of due to the sphincter mechanism, but it has an ability to expand enormously during passing stool. But this is completely lost, not by function. Changes, and mostly, as I told you, that is created by us, which you call rather it's an IFF. If you see this clinical picture of this patient, you could see that the opening of the anal orifice is too narrow, and even it is difficult to pass a little finger. Normally, it is one finger and more, 1.5 finger it is anal canal, or even 2 finger can easily be admitted in the anal canal, anal orifice. But in this situation, little finger cannot. So therefore, this situation, we can see that there are a lot of surgical procedures where we, either by application of some medicaments or by doing some surgical intervention, the anal canal and perianal area get damaged, and that leads to contraction of the anal canal, and finally the patient unable to pass stool. There will be a lot of different kinds of, you see, types of the stricture. They come to us in our clinical practice, and you could see that there are most of the cases where you can see the anal orifice become pretty narrow, you see, too narrow, and it is really difficult to pass stool. And every morning when patient goes to toilet, and he remembers the treating doctor or the treating surgeon, and I don't know what they do, they do not praise us, you see. Therefore, we need to consider these issues very carefully. This narrowing of anal canal has also been described in Ayurveda since it is 2500 years before by Sushrut, and he described this condition as a Sanirut Buddha, where the anal canal get narrow and patient get difficulty in passing stool. And he has also advocated a different kind of treatment modalities. The narrowing also can also be seen in genitalia also. He described these diseases together in a special chapter, and what he advocated that to dilate, they need a medication, and then to dilate the anal orifice, a different kind of a dilators has been used, which are made up of metal or wood or by ivories or some animals, see this horn of animals, they are being used so that, and gradually the anal orifice get dilated with the help of lubrications. And finally, one has to remember that he has also advocated that if it is not responding to the dilatation, one should go for a surgical intervention with all caution, without damaging the vital parts. That was the advice of Sushruta. We do not know what kind of a surgical intervention he did on those days, as we all know that the surgical training was given on those days by a hand-to-hand training rather than a elaborative description what we get today in form of a text, in form of a video. They are not available. Therefore, the surgical description, the practical knowledge was given by the gurus to the students rather than not recorded as an operative procedure in this. But they have mentioned that if this procedure, if this condition is not cured by anal dilatation, then they may require a surgical intervention. If we consider this in narrowing of the anal canal, as I told you that this anal canal, the narrowing may take place because of functional problem. Very often we come across this kind of a conditions, and the another is a structural, the anatomical destruction is there or anomalies is there which leads to anal stricture. So in this situation, in a functional condition, mostly the inflammatory region or infective region or mechanical fissure is there, which leads the most commonest reason the anal orifice do not open because of some pathology in the anal canal. So the anal orifice gets, there is a spasm, and then patient get pain and patient unable to open the anal orifice properly and does not properly the defecation process is become problematic, and that is a functional problem. Same thing happens with anosmus. You see, in this situation, the sling, what we call a anorectal sling, pivorectal sling get overactive, and then there is acute angulation, and this patient unable to pass stool. You see, so these situations are more medical problem, and they need some mostly medical situation. Of course, sometimes surgical intervention is also required, but they are functional problem. But there are situations where the structures, the anatomy is damaged because of due to surgical intervention. That is our today's issue of discussion. This anal stenosis can be divided in two basic groups. One is a benign reasons, benign anorectal stricture. The other is a malignant anorectal stricture. My today's discussion will be completely limited to the benign anorectal lesions, not to the malignant lesions. So that's another area of discussion. We have some other time and we may talk it. Therefore, today we will limit to benign anorectal diseases. There are several causes. This list is not enough to complete the whole causes of, but these are the major reasons. You see, as you could see over here, that 90% of anal stenosis is caused by over-enthusiastic hemorrhoidectomy, where mostly we do a excess skin removal during hemorrhoidectomy, and then the area gets sutured or ultimately get fibrosed, and then there is a narrowing of the anal canal. Similarly, in Ayurveda also, there are a lot of people who practice chara karma, use of a caustic material, pratisaraniya char, in the management of hemorrhoid. I've got many patients who have undergone this kind of a treatment, and finally they have come us to with a narrowing of anal canal, which is quite intractable. Very severe damage of the anal canal, structural damage. As I told you, that anal malignancy is another trauma to the anal canal. There are many reasons. You see, one of the patients I know that he used to take sheet's bath and used to clean the anal orifice by using this toilet jet. You see, so accidentally the toilet jet on that day there was a hot water, and that caused a complete burning of the anal canal, and finally there will be a fibrosis, and then there is a stricture. So trauma may be mechanical, maybe thermal trauma. So this different kind of a trauma can cause. Inflammatory bowel disease is another reason which leads to anal stenosis. But in our country, in addition to this inflammatory bowel disease, there is one of the reason is a tuberculosis, you see. Tubercular anal canal and rectum is not uncommon, and we need to take care of whenever if there is no such symptom or patient has some no operative intervention and patient develops, maybe after fistula and other things that you may consider, you have to consider very carefully tuberculosis. Radiation proctitis is another reason, you see. In several occasions, patient undergone pelvic radiation, especially for CA rectum, many a times you see anal canal, and then cervical cancer or other regions of pelvic cancer, and the rectum and anal canal get radiated, which is not required, you see. So that was the reason why this ultimately there will be a necrosis and fibrosis of this anal canal, and they leads to a chronic radiation proctitis, and ultimately it causes narrowing of the anal canal. This is digital evacuation. I have come across many patients, they have a habit of regular digital evacuation. So what it causes, you see, they cause changes in the anal and rectal epithelium, and gradually there is a progressive trauma and fibrosis, and finally in many cases the stricture becomes very acute stricture, and patient face difficulties because of due to repeated trauma and fibrosis, This is another issue. That use of caustic material, I have already told you. I know there are a patient, you see, he came to know that this char liquid is useful in treatment of hemorrhoids. He used to put this char liquid every day, almost every day, in the anal canal to get rid of hemorrhoids. And ultimately, he came to us, and when I took history of this patient, he said that I use this kind of a material for many, many months, you see, and that leads to a kind of a necrosis and damage to the anal canal. Endometriosis, it is a very unusual cause where ectophic endometrium, you see, it may be interposed at many places. I have come across several cases of endometriosis in the perineal area and anal canal. They leads to the very typical history of these cases. There is exudating ulcer or exudating area where the lady every month during his menstrual period, the area gets swollen up, then there will be exudation, maybe sometime bleeding, just like a menstrual blood that is associated with the menstruation. A very common diagnostic point to remember that this is associated with menstruation. The area gets edematous, just like an endometrium of uterus during menstruation, and it completely ceases off after the menstruation is over. So if you take a careful history, you can identify these causes. These are some of the pictures which I have got from the textbook, where rare causes, you could see that there is a mucosa which has casted, you see. This mucosa is because there is a amoebic colitis and proctitis, and there is a casting of mucosa, and that leads to anal stenosis. Similarly, as I told you, the tuberculosis is another reason. I have come across several patients of tubercular lesions where the patient's presentation was only stricture enough, nothing else. I must say, take a bit of a time to say that there are some congenital anomalies, that what we call anorectal malformation. They also can cause a difficulty in passing stool. As we know that many times the anal orifice normally you see there is anal dimpling and it come across, and there is a cutaneous part and there is a organic area, both they communicate, and there is anal communication. That's a normal illness. But many times it fails, like here you can see that there is a failure of, there is a small opening, a pin like you see, and sometimes these openings, they are commonly together, you see. So the anal orifice it's a cloacal opening, common cloacal opening, the anal orifice, the vaginal canal and urethra, they open together, you see, or the differences are quite less. So there are many such permutation and combinations are possible. Varieties of combinations are possible as a malformation of anal canal, and they need a very special attention. And probably, you see, they may be better treated by a pediatric surgeon. And let me tell you that this now there are many newer technique has come up to repair these kind of a anal malformation, and the single stage repair is there are multiple stage repair is there, they needs accordingly. But there are few conditions are there. Being a proctologist or even a general surgeon, we can take care of these issues, especially when there is a newborn baby. Look the anal canal properly, whether there is orifice is not, there is not, whether the orifice is proper or not. See, we need to look here. See, many times the patient or mother may miss it, but you can look on it, you see, and you can see the presence of an anal orifice is there or not. If it is not there, maybe, and if there is a narrow opening, they can be taken care by a simple procedure, by a simple anal dilatation. But there is an opening is far away and there is a tissue in between, so they need to be taken care by a pediatric surgeon, by a specialized group of pediatric surgeons. So what kind of a type what we get, you see, as we know that it may be a mild type. In mild type, what we call that patient, say, the lubricated index finger can be passed with difficulty. It is, they don't face a lot of difficulties, but when you examine, they have some difficulties in pushing the index finger in the anal canal. Or in medium size, see, this is a retractor, what we call a Hill-Ferguson retractor. This retractor is almost like a vaginal retractor, what we seems, but this is very frequently used in anorectal surgery. So you could, the medium size retractor, you won't able to, you could pass it with bit of a difficulty. But in moderate, you see, kind of a, it will be difficult to push the index finger. And if you wish to push the different, it will tear. It will cause a pain, you see. And even the same, you could not push it, a retractor inside. In a severe case, where it will be difficult even to push the little finger. So accordingly, they are graded, you see, that the narrowness of the anal canal and the severity of the anal canal on the basis of severity. At the same time, we can see that this is actually the anorectal anal canal. See, the anal canal, the stricture may take place at the lower level. It may take place at the mid level, and it may take place above the level of the pectinate line. So that is a high level. So you can see that the majority of the stenosis, nearly 65% of the stenosis are at the low level, means they are below the pectinate line and just around 0.5 centimeter inside the anal vert, you see. So they are the low level mostly because of due to this damage of the skin, especially during hemorrhoidectomy and or in fistula surgery. The midline, the mid-anal fistula strictures are also there. They are also mostly iatrogenic. So nowadays, as I kept this diagram, you see, to show you that now this stapler hemorrhoidectomy is now being very popular. But one of the most important disadvantage of this stapler hemorrhoidectomy, if it is not done properly, if the suturing is done, taking this muscle layer, and then if the hemorrhoidal mass and the tissue is excised, it invariably causes a stricture, and you could see that the stricture is at a higher level. It's a stricture at the rectum, you see. And this stricture is almost like an hourglass. So the anal canal is normal, the upper rectum is normal. At the mid, there is a segment of stricture, and it is almost just like a very narrow area, and a patient don't even able to pass the little finger. I have seen in many cases. So these strictures are again developed because of this kind of a problem. So what the patient usually feel, you see, there is an increasing difficulty in defecation is the most important symptom. And another important symptom, they strain a lot. They strain, they sit and strain because the stool do not able to come into the rectum and into the anal canal because of due to narrowing. I have a patient, you see, to whom I found he was a PhD scholar in my in our university in Sanskrit faculty. This around 32 years of male who came to me with a complaint of difficulty in defecation. Then he told me that I swallowed a coin, you see, during when he was studied at class 8 standard. I told him that it was impossible because by that time the coin has been gone away. It's a he's told that it was a आठन्ना मतलब ये आठाने का सिक्का था वो. So I do not believe on it. Then I said that you go and have an X-ray. Then immediately he came with the X-ray and I could see that there is a radiopaque shadow which is circular in nature at the level bottom of anal canal, just at the level of anal canal. Then I examined and what I found that there is a solid mass, foreign body like, and what the boy used to do, he used to push the mass while defecating. It acts as a valve and then it moves, going to one side, and then the boy used to pass stool, you see. That was the thing what I was doing in since so many years, you see. And then by straying into the rectum, the coin become a fecalith, you see. It's a big solid stone, you see, calcified. So it is primarily because of a anorectal malformation on which the child swallowed a coin which stuck at the anal canal, at the level of anal canal, acts as a valve-like situation and used to do every day, you see. So therefore, the patient used to strain for a lot and the stool is formed, it is a pipe stem or a pencil-like, you see. A pencil-stick stool, a narrow stool, bleeding because mostly because of straining they develop stricture as well as ulceration or fissure also. Therefore, there is a bleeding. They use a lot of laxative and they abuse of laxative, you see. And they need sometimes enema, suppository, so many things they do, you see. Then they may also develop diarrhea also because there is a collection of stool and sometimes the stool come out. Leakage of stool because they're unable to contract the muscle properly. So the continence is not maintained adequately. Therefore, then tenesmus and bleeding is another allied clinical presentation of inflammatory stricture. These are the commonest strictures. What we can offer to them? We can offer to them, say that best thing is not to do it, you see. Don't create a stricture because 90% are of we create it. We can prevent it, you see. We can do a surgical procedure with our best judgment, with not over enthusiastically remove the skin and mucosa of the anal canal. Then there is a medical treatment, what we call, the patient, those who are moderately or mildly strictured, or they need a anal cavitation, they need a stool softener, a bulk fiber supplement, and they are quite suitable in most of the cases. But that's a protocol, you see, of management. We call it non-operative management and an operative management. The stool softener, fiber supplement, anal dilatation, they are being used for moderate, mild and moderate kind of a anal stricture, where the operative interference is required in severe anal stricture, as well as you see this colostomy. Sometime, if I will come across when, then anal anastomosis also, coloanal anastomosis also is another chance when we can go for a rectoanal or anal anastomosis. You will find a variety of dilators, you see. I found whenever a patient of anal stricture, they come with dilators. Many of them are metallic. Now there are plastic dilators are available. If you look to the net, you will see a variety of dilators of different size and thickness are available. and they are being used, you see, by the patient. Of course, how to do dilatation? I have seen most of the time that the surgeon or even a doctor do not have a patience to use a dilator, you see. They put it and force it. No, never force it. So if you wish to use a dilator, so choose a suitable site of a dilator. And then gradually, as Susruth advocated that you need to do it sane, means gradually that what you need, that you need to introduce the dilator into the anal canal gently and progressively, day by day, not at one time. Maybe a first time validation you can do it under anesthesia, and subsequently that needs to be done by a patient or patient attendant every day regularly. Then only this is not time. But there are disadvantages. What are those disadvantages? See, a progressive repeated dilatation can cause damage to the mucosa, mostly than the repeated trauma, repeated injury, and progressive fibrosis. Therefore, if it is more contracted, aggressive kind of a stricture, probably you need is other kind of a surgical intervention than regular dilatation. Many a times the patients they do a dilatation with wooden dilators, maybe a candle, and they lost it in the anal canal. Now today I am going to discuss today on this effective, especially the reconstructive surgery of anal canal, what we call an anoplasty. This is specially indicated for severe anal stenosis and where we replace the lost anal tissue by a new tissue. If you dilate it, the fibrosis get more severe, more interactive, you see. Therefore, we cannot do this kind of a procedure in a severe anal stricture. The stricture is incised and a rotation or advanced flap of the skin or subcutaneous tissue is replaced the defect. Let us see this how it can be done. You see. Look at, you see that a circular retractor is very good because you could see the every aspects of this anal canal. But in absence of this, even we can use a very good Sims speculum or Ferguson's retractor. What I have shown you earlier, that the scar is excised, advanced forms of it. After the excision of the scar, the perianal tissue is advanced to the anal canal, and there are different types of this advancement flaps are there. Maybe VY flap, YV flap, and many so on and so on. I will come on gradually. That's a simplest form which can be used even in case of a chronic fissure treatment and a large fissure bed with an infected loss of skin where the fissure bed is excised, the area or the damaged area, scar area is excised, and a incision is marked, and this flap is now moved inside the anal canal, and it is sutured in this manner. What you call a VY flap, what you could see a V and a Similarly, you could see that there are many more kind of advanced flaps are there. So this different VY kind of a flap are there. This is the rhomboid flap can be taken. A rectangular flap can also be taken into the anal canal. Similarly, a tongue-shaped flap here, it can be taken into the anal canal. A V-shaped flap, it can be advanced to the anal canal. So look at this. This all depends on the extent of damage and the skill of an individual surgeon, what they feel more convenient and competent in doing so, you see. That is probably more important, you see, by individual surgeon. All these things are, but remember one thing, that they are quite suitable in a smaller area of stricture. But if the stricture this is another way that you can widen the rectal area by longitudinal incision and transverse suturing is done at many places. But if you look at a stricture like this, you see, here a small advanced flap may not be adequate, you see. In these cases, I developed my own technique of handling these patients, and I was quite happy and treated many cases with this. I'm coming few case you see, which are treated in this technique, quite simple, very effective, and if you take care of a little patients, they can be done very easily by most of us, by all of us, you see. So those who understand basic fundamentals of plastic and reconstructive surgery, one can go ahead with this technique, quite safe. The most important and interesting is that never I have found that there is a necrosis of flap or damage of the flap. You see. This is due to a philosophy of Susruth and principles of Susruth, where there are few principles of Susruth of plastic and reconstructive surgery, where he has advocated that it's a relation between establishment of blood and flesh. Can we establish a relation of a flesh with blood? Then probably we have achieved our job. You see that therefore, what you require, there should not be excess of bleeding, there should not be less of bleeding. Mean there should not be less of blood, there should not be excess of bleeding, and there should not be ashuddha rakta. These are the conditions. Means one should have to be very careful while doing a plastic and reconstructive surgery about the vascularity of this area and vascularity of the flap also. The other issue is that what is suggested that you can take a piece of a muscle or a flap where with a pedicle and which remain survive, you see, without difficulty. That is another important what he has advocated in the treatment of reconstructive procedure of ear lobule, ear damage. So, or in the damage of the reconstruction, he has advocated pedicle flap to reconstructive nose. You see, that was the beauty of Susruth, that you can take a pedicle. So I have taken this advantage of a pedicle flap to repair these defects. You see. What I have done, initially I have taken away the fibrous tissue very carefully, not damaging the deeper structure. So gently I started dissecting. Once you remove this scar, now I could pass my little finger. So gradually I have started dissecting gently the entire area without damaging the muscle and other soft tissues. So this requires a very good light, you see. Normally the light what we use in our operation theater, you could see they don't usually come to this so low level. And even if it comes, because of due to a big dome of this light intensity to the rectal area, this area is less. I devised a very special lamp for these purposes, which is a very small lamp, and it can be flexible lamp and have a very good, say, cool, white, bright light, and can be placed in between these people. You see, you could see that there is assistant, operating nurse, operating surgeon, and even you could place the light over here to see it very beautifully, you see. And that is very important. Adequate light is very important, because most of the time you don't able to see and then you do it, you see. Look at, now gradually I have removed all these scar tissues. Now you could see, you could pass I prefer most of the time I use a vaginal speculum, and this speculum you can push into the anal canal and you can see that entire area I have removed very carefully without damaging the muscle, underlying muscle. Now my job is this, that I create tongue separate flap, you see, like this, and this flap with a pedicle over here, and this now I can push into the anal canal and repair this raw area. If you leave this area like this, it will again heal and it will cause again a fibrosis. Therefore, again what I do it, you see, I remove a full thickness skin flap over here, and then ultimately I take it into the anal canal, this flap, and suture it into the anal canal. See, look at, you see, this I have taken to the canal, and finally this I cover it by this, you see. So that's you can see the flap which I have taken a beautiful. There is no color discoloration because the beautiful is here, and there is no compression of blood vessels. So this what we can do it, you see, very easily. And finally, I have sutured this area. The raw area has now covered up by a new skin. Now this will act as a skin, normal skin of the anal canal, and this raw area will be now sutured. You may need a bit of an extension of this incision line so that there should not be any tension, and then we can close the wound like this, you see. So like this, and that's, you see, the observation at the beginning, what you could see, and that's at the end of this operative procedure where the tongue-shaped flap we have taken into the anal canal. You could see that it has gone up to the pectinate line, you see. So this entire raw area, I have given a new skin, and this skin with a good blood supply. It is not jeopardized. And this we see at the end, this patient, you can see that the retractor can pass very easily, means the stricture has now it has gone. And at the time of healing, there will be no contraction. That is what I have do it, you see. And that you could see over here, that we put a small piece of gauze piece, and that we remove after 24 or 48 hours of time, and that's the immediate post-operative wound. But every step you need to be careful, you see. You need to take care, because if you pull it, because there is anal spasm, and if you remove them, see, without lubricating, without making it moist, without taking proper care, maybe at times it's a bit of a sedation, you see, to remove it. So then if you remove it, so that is the wound which you could see after second day or third day, and that's the wound which you could see at the end of the procedure on the 7th day when the stitches are removed. So that's the anal orifice where the patient came with this kind of a thing, and that you can reconstruct it. You can see that there is no, the entire flap is a healthy flap, and there will be no stricture anymore, you see. I will take you that is a one side, what we call a lateral flap. Left, see, I shown you it's a left lateral flap. If the stricture is more intense, you see, we could go for a bilateral flap, you see, bilateral flap on the right side as well as left side. So that we have made a similar kind of a dissection over here. Both the scar tissue we have damaged. I have a small video at the end of this program. So this is the flap I have taken to the anal canal on this side and the another side also. And that is at the end of this healing, you could see. Then I have a small video for this patient. You see, very small video. You could appreciate this video, that how this bilateral flap you could take away for treatment of a more serious. This is the patient. Let me volume because it's an unedited film. You see that I could not pass my index finger. So now that you could not pass even a Hager's dilator. So that 11 number. I made a bilateral cut on this side. So gradually then I removed the scar tissue. This was done because after the hemorrhoidectomy, they developed the stricture. Now you could see that this stage suture I have taken because this is, you could see over here a foreign body. You look at, you see, this causes, you see, fibrosis. So same again, I take a flap like this, and then this along with the full thickness skin, subpedicular tissue to replace the scar tissue, and which I put into the anal canal, and then ultimately during the process of healing that you could see on, this is on the right side and this is on the left side. Both the flaps are taken into the anal canal, and this wound is now closed, you see. And that's the procedure which we opt even for bilateral, you see, both anterior and posterior, left and right, sorry, not anterior, posterior, a flap taken from the left side as well as from the right side. Let me tell you that that as we have taken a pedicle flap, you see, therefore the chances of flap necrosis is practically nil, provided you taken care of bit if the dissection is proper, if you do not damage it much. Therefore you will see that you will never be disappointed with this kind of a problem. And let me tell you that a patient who have such a difficulty in passing stool, and if you are able to help them with such a simple procedure, this is another patient where you could see that there is a big scar, fibrosis. The patient is under anesthesia, and we could able to pass the retractor with difficulties. And you could see there is a large fissure bed with a very non-healing margins, which are quite firm tissues, hard tissues, and that if you permit, actually, I will just show you the video at the end. You see, I am taking you the another patient. You see, it's a young girl, and in this patient, she has an anorectal malformation, and then you could see that she has been operated several times. You see, for repairing this, for a communications between this, and a skin breeze has been created as a perineum, but this patient has a very narrow anal canal, which you could not see it, which is anal orifices are practically embedded into the under the skin, and there is a communication, you see, in between the vaginal canal and the anal orifice. That's the problem. She has been operated thrice, you see. What we have made in this case, because she has a very narrow anal orifice, therefore every time she develops a fistula, you see, vaginal fistula. It bursts open and then it comes up. So first stage, what we did a analplasty. So a small amount of stool she used to pass through the vagina, and with most of that stool she used to pass through the vagina, and sometime with the and some stool through the anal orifice also. So what we made again the same, we made a small cut, we removed the scar tissue without damaging the muscle, sphincter muscle. Now I have made an incision on the either side, you see, and we have taken the flap on the either side. As you could see, we've taken a skin hook to remove the hook, hold the skin, and modulated the skin to this opposite to the anal canal. That's one side I have repaired. Then the other side I have repaired again in the same manner, and then you could see that there is an opening into the anal canal. So this we have taken an opportunity to repair it through transvaginally. What we have made, you see, that if you see the margin over here, we remove the margin carefully, and then we suture in two layers, the rectal layer at the different level, and vaginal epithelium at a different layer, you see, vaginal side at a different epithelium. So look at, you see, we have dissected this area and suture in two different layers, you see, the lower layer at a different level and the upper vaginal level and this is the entire structure what you could see over here, and that's the thing at the beginning, and that is the end of this procedure. You see, it took around, you could see that to complete this procedure we started around 12:45 and we have ended up on around 2, so nearly 1.5 hours, 1 hour 15 minutes time you could complete this entire repair process. You see, a anoplasty, bilateral flap taking, as well as closure of this anal orifice, anovaginal or rectovaginal fistula. So this patient, she was responded extremely well during postoperative period. The other procedures, as I told you, that you can go for colostomy, but must be taken when the stricture is causing intestinal obstruction, otherwise never required usually. There's another procedure, rectal excision and anal anastomosis, that is another where the stricture at a higher level. So what we do, we excise the entire rectum and then we make anastomosis with the upper part of the anal canal with the colon, you see. So this is some of the other way. Therefore, the message is that it's a benign anal stricture, maybe a spasmodic or organic, maybe mostly you see there are medical problems. The organic regions are primarily, they need a surgical intervention many a time. See, the regions are mostly iatrogenic, and hemorrhoidectomy or repair of this malperforated anus, it is because of due to this surgical procedure, this anal stenosis develops. Biopsy must be taken to rule out every time for malignancy. Can usually be managed by regular dilatation in mild cases. Several strictures require surgical intervention like anoplasty. And I found this a lateral flap anoplasty with full thickness. They are quite effective in managing. Now I will go to a video. You see, if you have a time, I can go ahead with a video presentation of 5 minutes. Maybe quickly I can go ahead, you see, with this, and then I will complete my presentation. So this is this video, you see, which gives you a more detail how to. My screen is visible to you. Hello.
Yes.
Okay. So if you, this is a procedure, sorry, this is a operating procedure which I like to share with you all. Very simple. You can do it quite effectively. Where I have taken a unilateral, you see, dissection for doing it. You see, this is an stenosis patient. Yeah, this screen is visible to you. Yeah, that what you could see, that what I have done, we have removed the entire scar tissue, again taking a flap from the lateral wall of the anal canal, no sorry, perianal area, and then we have interposed it into the, after removing it. So let us see that how this could be done step by step. You could see there is a big fissure bed over here which causes severe pain to a patient, you see. That what I am trying to demonstrate, to say to my, to see, I put a small amount of local anesthetic agent because it reduces the bleeding at the local area. So I take these scar tissues gently and send them for histopathological examination. And you could see that the hard scar tissue over here, which I removed gently, and it's not a small area, it's a big area. Once you see that completing this dissection, it takes a bit of a time, but you need to be gentle and carefully without damaging the undermined muscle and the perianal tissues. So then it will be serve the purpose. So you could see that I have removed entire scar tissue now very carefully without much damaging. So it is only the scar tissue I have excised. You could see that there is a big scar, you see, over here. And if you leave as such, it will cause again contract, and again the white tissue what you see is a scar tissue. So you could see that from the pectinate line inside and up to this anal verge. At times it is beyond the anal verge also. So this entire scar tissue I have removed carefully, and now still I am removing. I have removed on the right side. Now I am removing on the left side also. So once it is removed, then part of the job is over. Now we need to take care of a flap, you see. See, while taking a flap, we must be careful, you see, not to handle it too much. We need to maintain the blood supply of the flap, as well as the pedicle size is also quite important. You could see that now that this big scar tissue we have removed. Yeah, now this is almost nearly, I have neatly dissected this entire, you see, area, and I injected a small amount of local anesthetic agent with adrenaline, which reduced. Now you could see that I could pass my 2 fingers into the anal canal. Earlier it was difficult. Now again I will take a flap similarly as I have shown you earlier. So I'm making it a bit of a fast now. So this again I am taking a flap. See, like this, I take a skin flap. Yeah. Now that's this. So I have taken it, dissecting the flap. This is quite important, you see. It should not be very thick and it should not be too thin. If you make it very thick, then it may not serve the purpose. And if it is too thin, then the vascularity will not be there, you see. But it's a full thickness graft along with bit of fatty tissues, just like a normal canal is. So therefore, see, gradually I take a stay suture using a skin, because in absence of a skin hook, I take the advantage of a suture to hold the flap and then gradually I dissect it, and then taking it like this, and the small blood vessel don't bother about the bleeding. There may be small amount of bleeding which usually subside, or just little pressure they goes away. Don't coagulate them until unless it is required. At times you may require some blood vessels in the field to coagulate them. Otherwise you don't need. Once you see that the pedicle is clearly dissected, then you, and it falls rightly without any tension, then you take it into the anal canal. Yes, like this. There are some hinges are there. I remove them, and then I take it into the anal canal, and gradually, that's right. These are the hinges. I remove it, and then I cut it. Yes, and then gradually it goes. Yeah, and gradually the flap is now good enough. Now you can take into the anal canal. That is probably one of the interesting area, how to suture it into the anal canal, you see. So what we do it usually is find out we need to understand a measurement actually, that the amount of defect into the anal canal and the tissue you are taking it. It should not be less. So it should be quite free, you see. Should be lax, you see, rather than a very tight, you see. Then what you do it, you see, you suture initially with this margin, and then from the outside take it to the anal canal. So you take a long, see, and what I do, I don't tie it, you see. So I take 1 or 2 bites, and then I fix it into the anal canal. And once it is fixed in right position, then usually the other sutures, the side sutures and between sutures are taken. So that is probably a very small technique you need to understand and to observe it, how to do it. You see, now you could see it now. What I have done it now, you could see both the areas clearly. So yes, now yeah. So that is what I done. You see, I take a suture and first in the skin side and then to the inside. Now you can see here very clearly that. So similarly, I take 1 or 2 sutures, and then this flap is inverted into the anal canal properly, and then finally I suture other sides, you see. And at the end, what you could see like this. These are the sides. I now suture it and completed at the level of pectinate line. Now on the either side I suture it, and then finally I close the defect, you see. That's the one side. See, I have shown you the both sided. I have shown you the along with repair. So these all things are not very. Now you could see this, the entire flap you could see, which has replaced the scar area, the damaged area, which was not healing as a painful area to the patient. And now this defect can be managed very easily by extending the incision bit more, and that is what at the end of what you can see when you complete the suture, it looks like this, you see. And finally, because it has a big pedicle, therefore it never necroses, you see. So that is the end. You could see over here, I have almost nearly completed, and that's how we gradually, you see, extend the incision bit of more, and then finally you close this incision. And this won't get not infected as well as not necrosed, you see. I have never come across a complication like this. And that's the end of this program. So I put a small packing so that it remain a little bit pressure, so that there should not be any bleeding from the side. So that's the entire procedure I have demonstrated to all of you. And the take-home message is this, that look at, you see, this Sushruta has advocated this pedicle flap 2500 years before for repair of defect in the nose and in the ear. The same technique can be adopted for correction of anal stricture also. You need a bit of a practice, bit of a understanding of these flaps. Quite easy, very easy to manage such a difficult problem. thank you very much for listening me and giving me an opportunity by your institution to share my experiences with all of you. It's really, I feel immense pleasure to be with you once again. Thank you very much. And thank you, the Himalaya Drug Company, for for providing an opportunity, for giving an opportunity to all of us to share a platform. So thank you, Himalaya. You are more than 90 years. Huh? Thank you. Since 1930. And thank you, my all audience, those who are listening me. Thank you very much. So if you have any question or any suggestion, it will be my pleasure to reply you or to talk to you. Yes, Dr.
Hello, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah, sir. Have you find any failure in this method?
As I told you that there is a pedicle on it. You see, normally what happens, say the pedicle means the blood supply remain intact. You could see that all the pedicles, they have a normal color, and even after second, third postoperative day, after seventh postoperative day, I've never come across a dissatisfaction ever. You see, I really enjoy this flap, and it is quite effective in managing a severe stricture. It depends on whether it is a unilateral or bilateral. That's all.
Sir, this is Dr. Pradnya from Podar Hospital, Mumbai.
Yes.
Sir, I am assistant professor in the Podar Hospital, Podar Ayurved College, Mumbai. It was a very nice and fantastic presentation, and thank you very much for guiding us all with this wonderful method. Sir, I just want to ask you whether is it applicable for all types of stricture for mild, moderate, and severe?
No, I told you that. Look at, you see that mild stricture. They don't need kind of a surgical procedure like this. Even you see, many patients I treat of fissure with strictures, narrow, small, and moderate stricture with advanced flap, which are VY flap. You see, quite simple. But in severe stricture, as I told you, that all the patients you have seen in this series, there are 4 patients I have demonstrated that in all these patients, you won't able to pass your little finger. They are grade 4. They are quite severe stricture, but and they are quite effective. You see, at times you need one side. You see, a flap from one side, depending on the site of the stricture, and maybe at times you may require on the bilateral, both the sides.
Okay, sir. Thank you very much.
Sir, may I ask one question?
Yes, sir.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes, sir.
What type of tissue we are taking for flap? Suppose there is a external sphincter, subcutaneous fibers are there. If we take this flap from some away from anus, what type of tissue we are getting for flap?
I just could not get you, sir. You could see that the entire flap is a full thickness flap, where the skin, part of the subcuticular tissue, fatty tissue are being taken along with the feeding blood vessels. They are not damaged, and it is not a split thickness graft. You see, it is a full thickness graft taken with a pedicle. The pedicle is rotated medially and then taken into the anal canal.
Thank you, sir.
Sir, but is it required that we should not disconnect that flap from the that tissue? Is it required, or we can cut it, disconnect it, and then?
No, it don't need to cut it, because we rotate it and suture it in that way, because that is probably a part, because in this video we could not able to demonstrate the pedicles at that base of the pedicle, how it has sutured the perineal area, the raw area. We don't need to we do not need to dissect it, we do not need to cut it. That remain as yes. So if there is no more question, then thank you all again. Thank you very much. Or if you have any other query, we can reply it.
Sir, any sort of special local application after post-operative care?
Look at, you see that where I believe in Sushruta's philosophy, that in a plastic and reconstructive surgery, what you need to establish a relation between flesh and blood. If you operate properly, if the raw area is not, I mean the area which I have dissected or you have dissected, if not bleeding enormously, if the vascular, I mean the area which you have dissected is not of less of vascularity, and if the area is not get infected, okay, then you don't need to do anything. So if there is a pre-existing sepsis, forget it. You don't do it. First you treat the pre-existing infection, like some abscess or something is there, then you treat them, then you do this procedure. That is a kind of a thing to need to be done. If you are dissecting badly and there is enormous tissue damage, there is a crushing, and then the local tissue damage is more, there is a more oozing, then there will be problem. There will be hematoma and the flap will not be accepted. The other issue is this. That just keep a pressure, a gentle pressure. Normally, once the anesthesia is over, the anal canal get contracted and it remain closed. I place a small pack, a lubricated Jatyadi Grit pack over the flap. I do lot of, I enjoy usually doing some, I'm being a general surgeon, sometimes I do a plastic surgeries, but always I use a Jatyadi Grit for a local application as a dressing material in my all, whether it is a pedicle flap, whether it is a partial thickness flap, any kind of a graft I take, I always use a Jatyadi Grit as a dressing tool. I put it over the raw area, I mean the suture area, and because it's quite easy to take out the pack, and at the same time, say it also helps you say keep the area soothing, and you can remove that piece very easily. I have shown you in my all photographs that during the post-operative period, the tissue color, the color has never changed. They remain very good, provided if you do not damage the pedicle, the flap, the pedicle and the area where you are working it is, the raw area, then it is excellent. I never come across any disappointment in these cases.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.